I'm just going to take this and slide it right in. And again, what I'm looking for is the fingers and channels are all facing the same direction, all aligned. And there we go.
Hello me hearties, welcome to our 18th video. I am Trinity Hart and this episode is brought to you by, no I'm just kidding, is to provide our experience and overall review of the 4x2x2 Zen Habitat that we purchased for our cornsnake pan. In the end, I think you'll see that it does make for a beautiful looking enclosure and that our experience with it so far is it appears to be pretty safe. Overall, we're happy with it. However, the process of putting it together was not quite as easy and smooth as the instructional YouTube video made it look. And we have our own opinions on this enclosure, but we want to just share our process and let you make up your own mind on them. Let the eyeball twitching commence. We received our Zen Habitat enclosure in the mail. It arrived right at our front door, and it was packaged well, so everything arrived unbroken. A good first step when receiving a new enclosure is to make sure you have everything you need before you start building, in case you need to ship it back, or you end up with a partially built tank taking up space in your home while you're waiting for the other parts, and that everything is in good condition. After we pulled out and unwrapped everything, we sought out build instructions. They weren't actually included in the box, but instead there was a link to a video with their build instructions, starring none other than the CEO and founder of Zen Habitats himself.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy, and I'm the founder and CEO of Zen Habitats,
which was posted 3 years ago. After watching the video all the way through once, we restarted and played it bit by bit as we built our new enclosure. The first step was to build the base or bottom of the enclosure, which required us to connect together the metal side beams using these plastic connectors. Now, you could probably guess that it wasn't as easy and simple as sliding them in from my facial expressions at the beginning of this video, watching Randy do it. And in fact, there was only one time where it was as easy as it looked in the instructional video, and it was shocking when it actually happened.
Is it all the way in there? Looks like it's all the way in. Okay.
My brother helped me with most of this because my husband's back was acting up and we were trying to spare him too much additional labor, but we often did have to get his help hammering the connectors in because he's stronger than either of us. It is not like the video. Go ahead. Yay. I pressed on that with all of my might and it wouldn't go in. There's no easy click here.
and then I'm going to push that together. And then I'm going to push that together.
It's not down. Yeah, you're going to need to do it again. Keep going.
And then I'm going to push that together.
Keep going.
And then I'm going to push that together.
You might have to like wiggle a little bit because last time I had to kind of wiggle it and make sure it was in there as straight as possible. Because I kind of pressed on it and just made sure it was like going in.
Kind of like that.
Almost. Do a couple more good hammers. That looks good. Anyway, once we had 3 out of the 4 metal beams connected for the base, we then had to slide the bottom into them and then connect to the final beam. It took somewhere between 15 to 20 minutes to build the bottom.
Think tall thoughts.
Shut up.
You sure this is bottom and not the back?
Yes, because the back has a big hole in it.
Oh.
They don't put holes in the bottom.
Watch your fingies.
Okay. The second step was to build the frame for the top of the enclosure. Oddly, the only piece that was labeled was the big main bar that goes across the top of the enclosure and says Zen Habitats on it, which was probably the only piece that didn't need to be labeled, but we were able to figure out what went where by taking our time to identify pieces that matched what was being shown in the video. So if you're building one of these, make sure you're matching the pieces with what you're seeing in the video. Something we encountered several times during the building process as well was that the pieces didn't fit perfectly in a lot of the corners. Thankfully, it doesn't seem to affect the overall quality of the build too badly, but I wouldn't trust it in an earthquake unless you've siliconed the whole thing together afterwards. After we had 3 out of the 4 metal beams connected for the top, we tried to slide in the metal screen as shown in the instructional video.
You're gonna want to grab both of the sides and push them together. Yeah, there we go. Huh.
I mean,
So the next step is we're gonna go ahead and slide the screen right into the frame. I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down. I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down.
what? I don't understand.
I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down.
I guess we just put it all the way down and then close it tight, maybe. Don't hold it so close together.
I don't understand. This makes no sense.
I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down.
Okay. Ow. Ah. Okay. Needless to say, we did eventually get the screen lid in and put together. It just wasn't quite the effortless endeavor it appeared to be in the instructional video. And please be aware that some of these parts are sharp. I got poked a lot here, so do be careful not to hurt yourself in the process of putting this enclosure together. The next step was to add the side beams going up to support the sides and top of the structure. We probably struggled with this part the most because it didn't seem as though the beams and the plastic connectors fit together. The corner joiner inserts are too large here, and in other places they were too small so it would just slide right out, and it just didn't fit together well, which can be problematic if you're building an enclosure to contain a snake in. Once we had all of the side support beams in as best as we could, we inserted the back and side panels. After we got on the top, which we, for whatever reason, did not film, sorry, we removed the sticky paper shields that came attached to the acrylic doors. And screwed on the doorknobs. We seated the doors inside the metal frames on the front of the enclosure and then used the glue that they provided in these metal edges that needed to go on the ends of the doors. These are specifically provided to prevent the doors from bending too much and close the gap between them, which essentially is another measure to prevent snakes from escaping. They are considered optional, but if you're housing a snake in this enclosure, I definitely recommend using them. 2 things I can say about this procedure. Make sure you go over the inside at least twice with the glue, and if possible, get someone with strong hands to do this part. Being a feeble-handed individual, I fought to squeeze this bottle enough to get the glue to come out. When I finally did get the glue inside of these edge guards, they did go on pretty easily, and they stayed on without any problems. These enclosures also come with this oddly shaped little metal hook. You'll want to hang on to this and keep good track of it because it's actually the door lock. You insert it as we're showing here, and it's a key measure in preventing your critter from escaping, or possibly small hands opening the doors when we wouldn't want them to. Now that is technically the last step in building this enclosure, but I'm going to strongly recommend that your last step be to seal the inside with silicone. All the bottom, sides, and top edges should get a line of silicone, and this will not only prevent dirt, liquid, and other substances from getting under the metal beams or leaking out, but with some applied to all the corners that don't fit together well, it's an added precaution to prevent the cage from just sort of rattling apart. If you have any questions on how to do this, please feel free to reach out to me. After letting the silicone take a few more days to cure and setting up the substrate, hides, lighting, and heating, we finally added Pan to this enclosure, my cornsnake, as his new home, and he has been doing really great in it ever since. Now, clearly you can see how we had some challenges in the process of building this enclosure, but I really did do my best to allow you to form a realistic opinion from this video. When all was said and done, we had both positive and negative things to say about the Zen Habitat's 4x2x2 enclosure. The first thing we noticed was that the instructions were not ideal because you had to reference a video, which can be an issue if you're trying to watch on a small phone screen, as it can be hard to see detail, or even on a large TV, which is how we watched it. I think it's nice to include as an additional option, but we would have preferred written instructions to the video personally, especially because in this particular case, the video made it clear the product they were using for their demo was of a different quality than the product in which I was sent. The video also felt outdated, as though they were working with a product that was made better years ago and now is not the case, or it seemed they might have used an enclosure that was specially built for this video in order to make it look smooth and painless to put together.
I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down. Can't push this one together, no problem. We'll take a rubber mallet and we'll knock it right in. That one was a little tough, a little double tap. I'm gonna go ahead and just slide that down.
Or perhaps we just got very unlucky and received a one-off habitat that was not built to their typically very high standards. Whatever the case, you can see the video got to me a bit because it was just so opposite of our experience. The more serious issues we had was the lack of ease with which to actually put this together. It took a lot of time and effort with the rubber mallet to connect the beams, and nothing was labeled except for one bar. Then there's the overall quality and look of the enclosure, which felt flimsy, especially when being carried from one room to another, and the corners just didn't connect like they should have, which didn't look great but also concerned me because I really didn't want this thing falling apart. I also think the squeeze bottle for the glue could have been made much better so that folks like myself could easily get the glue out as needed. This seems like just a little thing, but I would have even preferred that the metal edges were already attached to the acrylic doors so that I didn't have to do that part at all. The enclosure does really look good, especially from afar if you're not looking too closely at the corners and edges. It's a really great size for a corn snake, and I love the bamboo wood look to the back and side panels. It really gives a more naturalistic feeling to the whole enclosure, and definitely helps my snake to feel more secure in his enclosure over having all transparent sides. The price point is obviously great, which is why I opted to give this enclosure a try in the first place. Barring the obstacles in setting it up and the potential quality issues, it is a good setup in the end and will look great in your place for far less money than, say, a full-on PVC enclosure. It's true that the lower price is probably a result of the lower quality feel of this enclosure, but it does the job it is intended to do, and that is to provide a safe place to keep your snake. Ultimately, that's what matters most, is that you have an enclosure that keeps your snake safe and maintains the environmental factors that you're trying to control, such as heat and humidity. I am glad that I got this tank, and I'm grateful it allowed me to provide yet another viewpoint on buying and building one for people so that they can make their decisions, and hopefully this helps someone with such a decision. I personally won't purchase another one. I would definitely recommend it for someone who needs a large, budget-friendly enclosure that is light and easy to move, but frankly, high-quality builds are a luxury and not available to everyone. So I think it's only fair and right to be gentle with our judgments of what enclosures people want or are able to acquire. If you can keep your snake safe and healthy and give them a good quality of life, then it doesn't matter how much their enclosure costs or whether it looks or feels expensive. That's the video, me hearties. Thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. There's lots more to come too, so don't forget to like, subscribe, comment, and acquire snakes. Bye-bye now.
I'm recording.
Ow.
Try to do it with the hammer in your hand.
Like he did?
Yeah. Do a little double tap.
Ow, ow, ow.
Did you get it?
Yeah.
And then I'm gonna push that together.